Hi everybody, this video today is going to talk about lesson 2.5 and we're going to be graphing inequalities. So a couple things to remember. Remember that we have a dotted line. When we graph, we use a dotted line with a less than or a greater than, and we use a solid line when we have a less than equal to or greater than equal to. So the solid line it does imply, it implies that those numbers which are on the point are included. The dotted line implies that those points on the line are not included in the solution set. Okay, another thing when we do graphing, we do the line, but then we also have to shade it. And how do we know which way to shade? Well, there are two different ways. And this first one is kind of long, so you're going to want to pause it and write it down. So you choose a test point. The test point can be any point that you want. It's just that 0, 0 is a really easy one to choose. So I often recommend you use 0, 0. Now, if the line goes through 0, 0, you can't pick that. You have to pick something else. But what you do is you take a test point like 0, 0, you plug it into the inequality. If that test point makes the inequality true, then you shade on the side of the test point. But if that test point makes the inequality false, then you shade on the other side, away from the test point. That's one way. And we'll do an example of that so you can see that. The other way, the easier way, but it just doesn't always work, is if it's already in slope-intercept form. If it already has y equals or y is less than or y is less than or equal to, if it's less than equal to, then you shade it below. If it's greater than or greater than equal to, then you shade it above. And we say above and below, not left and right, because it's the y. And the y-axis is what we will be looking at. Okay, if you haven't paused it yet to write that down, pause that so you can write it down. Let's take a look at these first two examples. Y is less than 4x minus 2. It's easy. It's in y equals mx plus b form. I go to my negative 2. I go up 4 and over 1, and up another 4 and write 1, and down if I want to and write 1. And now I need to get out my straight edge and connect those with a straight edge. That straight edge is going to be a dotted line. Look at the symbol. It does not have an equals, so it's going to be a dotted line. I'm going to get my straight edge and draw a dotted line. Okay, there's my dotted line. Now I'm going to go ahead and start shading. And with my shading, it is less than. And my rule over here, my easy rule, was if it's already in slope-intercept form, that we can just go down. So it's y is less than. So if it's y is less than, I go down from there. And so it's below. Y is less than means below, so it's all this area, which means that any point I chose from this section, anywhere in here, if I plugged it in, it would make this true. If I chose something over here and plugged it in, it would not be true. All right, let's look at the other example. This time it is not in slope-intercept form, it is in standard form, but that's okay, that's easy, we know how to do that. We just use the cover-up method and plug in zeros. So we're going to cover this up, 24 divided by 4 is 6. We're going to cover this up, 24 divided by 3 is 8. And once again, I made a big mistake in getting a graph that was too small, but we're just going to deal with it. So my first point is 0, 6. That means I need to go up here to 6, and I'm going to plot my point. This one goes over to 8, so I'm going to go to 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. I need to connect those points. I need to decide solid line or dotted line. I look at my symbol. That is going to be a solid line because it has an equal to with it. I'm going to get my straight edge, and I'm going to connect these with a straight edge. Do not just freehand it. Get a straight edge, whether it's a ruler, your ID, your phone, the edge of your paper, something. You need a straight edge. Okay, so here's my line, but I need to figure out where to shade. And in order to shade it, I'm going to choose a test point. And in this case, I am going to choose 0, 0 because there's nothing, the line's not going through it, so I can use it. So I'm going to test this point, 0, 0. I'm going to plug it into my original equation, or my inequality. So I'm going to take 3 times 0 plus 4 times 0, and I'm going to see, is that less than or equal to 24? Well, I'm going to work out the math. 0 plus 0. Is that less than or equal to 24? Yes, it is. Since it is, we do shade on the 0, 0 side. So we are going to shade on this side of the line. Now I know that test point thing is not easy for a lot of people. So you know what? I'm going to go back and do this one with the test point, even though we already did it with the shortcut, just so you can see another example with the test point. So once again, if I test the point 0, 0, I plug it in, I'm going to get 0 less than 4 times 0 minus 2, which if I simplify that, it gives me 0 is less than negative 2. Is 0 less than negative 2? No, it's not. So here's my 0, 0. I said no, so I do not shade on the 0, 0 side. I shade on the other side instead. Okay, that's how we do shading and graphing and shading with dotted and solid lines and deciding which way to shade. Let's turn the page and talk about some word problems. Okay, the first example, you're saving money to go on spring break. You start with $45 in your savings account and you add $15 per week. How long will it take you to save at least $350? We need to write an equation for that. This equation is going to be in y equals mx plus b form. Write this down. When we have y equals mx plus b, the m stands for per or each, and the b stands for the starting amount or the one-time amount. And so if I look at this problem, I know I'm going to have y equals mx plus b. It says you're saving money to go on spring break. You start with $45 in your savings account. That's your starting amount. That's your b. And you add $15 per week. If it's per, that's your m, your slope. How long will it take you to save at least $350? Okay, so we're going to have y equals mx plus b. I'm going to use an equals for now, and then I'm going to change it in just a minute, okay? So I'm going to have y equals m is 15, x plus b is 45. Now, what's y? Well, y is how much money you're going to have, and so in the end. And so let's actually write that down. Y is the amount of money at the end, and x is the number of weeks. That's what those variables are. So we're going to leave those as x and y's. But if we add $15 per week and we start with $45, we want to know how long will it take to save at least $350. So that means that we want our y, our ending amount, to be more than 15x plus 45. Or you could even say greater than or equal to. I think that's a better one. Greater than or equal to. And I just realized that we want to save at least 350. So let's change that. I'm going to leave that first one with a y in it, but I'm going to change the second one to the 350. Okay, then all we have to do is solve this equation. So to solve it, I'm going to subtract my 45. That's going to give me 305. And then I'm going to divide by 15. I'm going to get my calculator. And when I divide by 15, I get 20.3. 20.3 what? Well, we defined it up here, 20.3 weeks. I'm out of space. I'm going to come up here. So one thing is I always want my x on the left. So I'm going to move it to the left. It's pointing to the x. I want to keep it pointing to the x. 20.3, that was measured in weeks. So what we could say is it will take how many weeks? At least 20 and a third, or maybe you could say at least 21 weeks to save $350. All right, so it will take at least 21 weeks to save $350. One more question and then we are done. Okay, this is another one where we're going to have to look at it and decide with the word problem how to set it up. You are selling cookie dough to raise money for the upcoming band trip. Chocolate chip cookie dough sells for $12 per tub. Peanut butter dough sells for $10 per tub. Your goal is to raise at least $120. How many of each type of dough should you sell? Okay, this is one of those I was talking about the other day. It is a two types. And when we have two types, we're going to use ax plus by equals c. All right, well, what are the two types I'm talking about? The two types I'm talking about, I'm going to let x equal the number of chocolate chip tubs and y equal the number of peanut butter tubs. And it is the number of. Don't just say chocolate chip and peanut butter. You have to say what? Is it how much they cost? Is it how many cookies there are? No, it's how many tubs there are. So you need to include the number of tubs. Okay, so we now need to figure out, all right, if we're going to use ax plus by equals c, and x is the chocolate chip tubs, well, they are $12 per tub, so that's a 12x, and y is the peanut butter tubs, and they sell for $10 per tub. And we want to make at least $120. So this has to be greater than or equal to $120. Now, for this problem, as there was, well, let's stick with this one. For this problem, there is a whole variety of answers. They're not just one answer. There's a whole range of answers. Because you're wanting to make at least that much money, you could end up making $300. You could end up making $500, whatever. So there's a lot more options. We need to graph it. What I'm saying is we need to graph it. And so because it is in standard form, I'm going to use this 0, 0 or cover-up method. I'm going to cover up the x, and that looks like it's going to give me 12y. I'm going to cover up the y. Looks like it's going to give me 10 on the x. Now, I need to set up a graph. So x is the number of chocolate chip tubs. Y is the number of peanut butter tubs. And I need to get up to at least 12 on my axes. So I'm just going to go and count to 12. Okay, my spacing is not perfect, but it's as good as I can get here on the board. I numbered up to 12. I just counted by 2s because that's as much space as I have. All right, I need to plot a point at 0, 12. That's up here. I need to plot a point at 10, 0. That's down here. I need to get a straight edge and connect my points. Okay, got my straight edge, connected my points. Now, why do I only have this quarter of the graph? Can you have negative? No, because you can't have negative tubs of cookie dough. So we have to stay in the positives, and that's why I've stayed just with positives here. Now, we have to decide, do we want to have more than this line or less than this line? Well, let's go back to our concept of our test point. And so if I plug in 0, 0, so I plug in 0, 0 into my original equation, and I get 0 is greater than 20. Is that true? No, that's false. Here's my 0, 0. I do not want to shade on my 0, 0. I want to shade out here. And the reason it's out here is, like I said a minute ago, maybe you're going to make $500. Maybe you're going to make $300, whatever. So all of this is like all the stuff that you could sell and still make at least $120. Now, the numbers that are on the line themselves are exactly 120. So if you sold how many there are here, that would be exactly 120. But if you sold out anything out here, it would be more than 120. And if it was in here, you would not make enough money. You're not making $120. If this was on grid paper, we could look exactly where those coordinates are and talk about that. But since we're just kind of freehanding it, I'm not going to try to get into that now. Okay, I want you to write down at least one thing that you need to remember from this video and bring that summary with you to class, and we will work on some more graphing and shading in class.